Right, in today's lesson, students considered two contexts that motivate the need for numbers less than zero. So in today's lesson, we focused on understanding the need for zero in temperature, as well as in elevation. So in these two contexts, we talked about these. So what we use to understand this context is we used either a horizontal number line or we used a vertical. So I'm going to label these horizontal, and then this one would be a vertical number line. So what we did today is we used these two things to determine numbers that are below zero and above zero, to kind of give students this understanding of what a negative number means in the context of everyday life, such as in temperature and in elevation or sea level. So a number less than zero in temperature means that that the temperature is freezing. A number less than zero in elevation means that it's below sea level. Those are contexts that we talked about in class. And then the understanding is that we want students to get to the point where they understand, is negative 30 degrees warmer or colder than negative 40 degrees. That's one of the understandings we want them to have. And we want them to understand, like, what does this mean? So if we're looking at negative 30, right, negative 30 is closer to zero, right, than negative 40. And because it's closer to zero, it is warmer. So that's what we want students to take away from this, is that in order to explain this, right, they could say that negative 30 is closer to zero than negative 40, which makes it warmer, or they could say that negative 30 is greater than negative 40, which also means that it's warmer in that context. So we want students to understand that. So writing this down, negative 30 is closer to zero than negative 40. So therefore, it is warmer. Or they could say negative 30 is greater than negative 40. Therefore, it is warmer. So this was the whole idea, is that we want students to generalize this idea that numbers that are closer to zero on the negative end are greater than numbers farther away from zero. Whereas, so that's the opposite of what we learned about numbers on the positive portion of the number line. So using a horizontal or vertical number line, we know that any number that's positive, right, the higher the number, the greater it is. Whereas when we're looking at negative numbers, right, the further away a number is from zero, the less value it has, monetary-wise, or, you know, and that's the best way of thinking about it, is just money. But it's, you know, in elevation it's deeper, in temperature it's colder, right? So these are warmer temps, and these are colder temps. Or you could think about this as this is above sea level and below sea level. So in this lesson, two students come across the two new terms. One they've known, they've been working with their whole life, and then the other one is something that they're exploring. So positive number And for them, that's number greater than 0. And then negative number is going to be a number less than 0. So I hope all of you were given a chance to kind of walk through this sort of the notes from this, and the understanding that I want you to take away is that, you know, we're trying to get students to understand what 0 means in the context of temperature and elevation, and that numbers that are greater than 0 are positive, numbers that are less than 0 are negative. And so therefore our understanding of what makes a number greater than or less than is going to change as well in the context of negatives, just negatives though. It's going to be the opposite of what we know about positive numbers, and that's the whole point here. All right.